Did Billy Napier save his job by beating Texas?
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This edition of a crossover between Locked On the Portal and Locked On Gators. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making this podcast a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to be talking all things with the most surprising up and down team in college football. I don't know how else to define it. The Florida Gators, who are just absolutely a roller coaster. Did Billy Napier save his job is the overall theme, but there's also the discussion of Dallas Wilson. Finally just comes out and kills it last week after he got healthy. Is there going to be other players for Florida in that freshman class that start taking another step forward? And does this group help Billy throughout the rest of this season and this team maybe even make a run in the SEC? Who knows? It's really hard to tell. And of course, with this being the portal, we're definitely going to discuss recruiting throughout in many different ways. Florida's got 19 commitments and several really good players. Are they going to add more and in what positions? To help me figure out all of this, Brandon Olsen of Locked Down Hook 'em Horns. Locked On Gators. Brandon, good to see you. I hope all is well in England. This
first win since I moved out here. I just want to make that first win since I moved out here. It's been a month, but first win.
Fair enough. Did you anticipate the win? And if you did you think it would be that dominant? I picked Florida to win, by the way, but did you think they were going to shellac them in the way they did?
Nope. I thought that I was talking about this last week on Locked On Gators where I saw a bunch of the predictors and projections were like, yeah, there's like a 75% chance Texas wins this game. That was BS. I thought it was much closer to 50-50. I think I said like 55-45, something like that. I did pick Texas to win because I said I'm not picking Florida to win a game until they win a game. But also I thought Florida would win a rock fight I thought this game was going to be a rock fight in general. Just sure. It was two offenses that did literally nothing against Power 4 opponents. Two offenses that outside of the Sam Houston State game for Texas didn't do anything against any FBS schools. And two great defenses. So I thought that would be just a rock fight that Florida could win or Texas could win. I thought it would be much closer, but really that game, I know 29-21 looks a lot closer on the scoreboard, but
the late score by Texas changed that perception.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a game for the Billy Napier-led Florida Gators against a Power 4 program where I've gone, Florida was in the driver's seat that entire time. That was a wire-to-wire win. Florida scored on their first possession, never gave it up. That was the most – I know it seems weird to say in an 8-point win, but that was the most dominant win, I think, of Billy Napier's tenure when you talk about doing it against an SEC team, doing it the entire time with it really never being in doubt.
I watched a good deal of it. And I knew Florida's front seven was good. I mean, it has been, and they've always had talent. But Florida's offensive line, I know they got some new guys, this and that. Texas's offensive line was really underwhelming. If I remember, I want to say it was 11 total carries for the Horns running backs for 15. And they've got players. Cedric Baxter's out. That's unfortunate. But Wisner, Weiser, whatever, he's really talented. Nothing. He didn't have anywhere to run.
Yeah, and they gave up. They stopped even trying. They were like, all right, this isn't working. We're just going to drop back every single time.
And that's not Sark's bag. He's known as a quarterback guy, but he wants a balanced offense. He's always wanted one. When he gives up that early, that's not a good sign. I think Texas has got some other problems, and good for Florida for taking advantage. It would have been easy to take the foot off the gas a little. They didn't. They kept applying pressure, and they didn't get lazy with run gap fits or any of that. And Arch is a pretty good athlete. You got to keep him in the pocket. For the most part, they did a pretty good job. I mean, he's going to get some yards, but I thought they did a really good job. So that leads into the obvious question, the one that probably gives you a chance to end up in a psychiatry ward at some point in your life. Is Billy Napier now safe, or is he is he trending towards being safe with how they played, especially, again, the defense? We'll get in the offense in a minute. The defense was lights out. What do you think on his hot? Where is he on that scale?
I hope it didn't impact anything, really. Look, I've been very clear about it. My bar is national championship. And if I don't think you're the head coach to do it, then I think that you should no longer be the head coach at the University of Florida. And that's been my bar. I think at this point, like I've been saying, like I think Scott Strickland is genuinely just giving Billy Napier a chance to prove his worth, which
sure,
I kind of have to respect, I guess, of just saying like, hey, like we're not going to pull you, because really, there's also no true benefit to doing it this early as far as like, oh, we get to start our coaching search early. You could do that through back channels. You could talk to agents and see
they
if
do.
coaches would be interested. Yeah, like you don't need to have the guy fired to get started on that. That's nonsense. All you're doing is building hype at that point. Like you fire a coach now, and then you get to talk about the coaching search for a long time and build that hype. But I don't think there's really much of a benefit to doing it right now. I think at this point, Billy's basically going, hey, with every quality win I get, I'm buying myself a little bit of time. And I need to keep buying myself as much time as possible so that they keep me for the entirety of the season. And then at the end of the season, we maybe have a conversation about whether or not you're actually worth keeping around. But I hope no single game ever decides whether or not he should still be the coach of the University of Florida or anybody's coaching future. No single game should ever decide that. That's just bad process.
He's had so many awkward games, especially at the beginning of seasons. I would question more than anything else with Napier, and this is true of a lot of head coaches. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, same way. They start really slow. If they were at least decent at the beginning of the year, it'd be different. The Gators, every year under him, start bad, and then they improve as the year goes on, which you want, but like they've got to take leaps, not steps. And it's just mind-boggling because you don't know when it's going to happen. And I think Gator fans, that's probably what they're maddest about, because if we play even remotely like this, maybe they beat Miami, or at least it goes down to the wire. And then, of course, the USF game, you would have won 10 points or more. That's a good team, but you'd have won. So that's why they're frustrated. And it also proves the other point here. They've got enough talent to compete with anybody on a given day. Are they more talented than Ohio State? No. But they're at least in the ballpark. But the way they played the first month of the season, there were MAC teams in the state of Ohio that could have played with Florida, which is ridiculous. So I need to see it again, and we'll get in. Yeah, I know. Toledo in the house. But the point is still the same. They need to play more consistent. And I think if they do, there's a chance that Florida can at least be, for lack of a better phrase, this is an old one, the fly in the ointment in the SEC. My prediction, I don't know which one it's going to be, they're going to beat one of these other teams, Georgia or A&M or somebody, and screw it up for them. And it's going to make it really hard when the committee's got to do their playoff, not only who's in, but where do you seed them? Because how do you grade Florida?
Yeah,
I think that's really going to be hard, man. I mean, take it away if you've got something. If there's a team you think because their schedule is ridiculous. They still got to play Ole Miss on the road. They got to play A&M on the road. They've got of course, I still call it the cocktail party. Is it in Jacksonville this year still?
Yeah, this year, Jacksonville.
Georgia. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities for Florida to screw it up for somebody else, although they're barring something really unforeseen or not going to the playoff. I think that's pretty safe to say. So which game do you think they're most likely to upset somebody?
This week.
This week? Okay.
This week. I think it's this week. I think Tennessee's another one. Tennessee will be in Gainesville.
Oh, is it? That's not an upset until otherwise proven they suck in Gainesville. I don't know what it is about that game. Tennessee does not play well in Gainesville. It's really, really weird. But that's
Josh Heupel, congratulations. You've got a 500 record against Florida. You still haven't won in Gainesville, and you got to do it. And similar to me saying, hey, I don't think Texas is great, but I'm going to pick them to win this game because until I see you do it, I'm not going to think that you can do it. And so for Tennessee, it's the same thing with winning in Gainesville. I think Texas A&M game is just, I think Florida just matches up well against them. They're a team that they need to run the ball effectively to win games. Florida's run defense has been nothing short of incredible this entire season, really. I mean, you take away just that opening drive against Miami, and Florida did a great job. I mean, look, if Florida plays how they played against Texas, if you do that against USF and LSU, you're 3-1 going into that bye week. But similar to like how you mentioned, it shouldn't take you a month to figure out how to play good football. Like last year, you could say, all right, they went into the first bye week, then they turned things around. Why do you need a month again to do that? Like, it happening one time is, okay, you figured some stuff out, and now you're going to get right. It happening 2 years in a row where you suck for the first month and then figure it out, that's a trend. That's not, oh yeah, you figured these things out. This is what you're going to do now. And that's not acceptable. You're not going to make the college football playoff doing that.
Man, to be honest, they weren't exactly unbelievable in 2020. Like the Utah games,
skated by that first one. Skated by.
That's what I mean. So, yeah, they need to change something with their off-season process, obviously. But when we come back, I want to talk about Dallas Wilson. Like, I knew he was going to be good, but anybody coming off injury, even veterans, they don't have games like that. And that just shows you what Florida can do on the recruiting trail. That is next here on this crossover Locked On Gators and Locked On the Portal. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make serious decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. You can do it in a million different ways with your favorite player on your favorite team, or maybe it's just something that you want to do with a guy you think is red hot. Again, just pick over under on player projections. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Thank you once again for making Locked On the Portal and Locked On Gators a part of your day. I'm Brian Smith with Brandon Olsen. Brandon, we knew Dallas would eventually be good for the Gators. I had the chance to see him when he was really young and went over to Tampa Bay Tech one day for practice because I lived in Tampa at the time. And they're like, that's the next kid right over there. And I watched him. I'm like, okay, I can see the movement skills and all that. But he was a sophomore in high school and he was just getting started. By the time the end of his junior year was over, he had an offer from every team in the country. He took to the coaching. His frame kept getting bigger and he was stronger. But he showed 25-year-old strength on a couple of those plays, especially the long touchdown. Did Florida just play that really safe with the injury? Because he seemed to be totally healthy to me. What was the deal? Why didn't he play earlier?
I think it was just playing it safe for the injury, getting him healthy. That's it. It was, I think were, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this story, but like he's such an animal that they put a hard cast on him when he first got banged up, not because he needed a hard cast, but because with a soft cast, he kept just trying to work out and kept just trying to keep going. And so they were like, we need a hard cast you to just limit yourself for a little bit. He's just a beast. He's just mentally, he's different. And that's like physically, he's an animal. Everyone knows that. You look at him and you go, okay, like he looks like he's got an NFL build right now. Like he's just a tank, but it's mentally where he's really different. He's just, I mean, people know, Florida fans know someone named Bam was like, he just plays that he's angry at the world. Like he's mad that you're lined up across from him. And he's not wrong. He's just an aggressive monster at receiver. He's truly the first Billy Napier receiver where you look at him and you go, that's a high level NFL future guy. Just by watching him, like watching the high school tape too. I know everybody was loving Vernell Brown III, and Dallas Wilson was the guy where I was like, that's number one for me. That's the guy. Dallas is just different.
I think the frame is the biggest thing. You can only teach your size in terms of just getting bigger and more muscle, but like the height, the width of your shoulders, how much weight you can carry, the way he's built, he's a quasi flex tight end almost. He's got to be 215, 220. I would assume right now. I don't know. I didn't check his weight, but just watching Dallas run. And I keep going back to like when I first saw him when he was a sophomore in high school, getting ready to go as junior. I'm like, that's 30, 35 pounds ago at least. He's totally changed his body, and good for him, because a lot of guys, they get to the point where they know they're getting the offers, they level off. I don't think, based on what you just said, especially that story, that's not him. And they've got Trey and other guys to throw to. If their offensive line can continue to get better in pass protection, just give DJ time. I mean, it's not like DJ doesn't have a big arm. They should be able to hit shots down the field again. And Jaden Ball is one of my favorite running backs to watch anyway. They're not great at run blocking, but they're good enough, and they're consistent. They stick with the run game. That's Napier's bread and butter. That's the one thing about him I like. He doesn't just dump the running game. They can be competitive with any team. This week against A&M is going to be fun because A&M's run defense has gotten a lot better. The first game, they gave up like 203 to UTSA. A running back from them just destroyed them. A couple weeks later against A&M, they did a pretty good job, and they've gotten better. The last couple of moments haven't been great. I think that's going to be the key, because if they could run the ball, they can help save Billy's job for another week, because I know they're going to hit some play action passes. They got some good DBs, but, Des Ricks and those guys against Dallas, it's still going to be hard. And they've got different players. You can't double team everybody. I think Florida's got a chance to hit some shot plays. A&M's big up front, but this ought to be one of the more fun games of college football this weekend. Anybody in particular you want to give a shout out to on UF's defense? I just think collectively they're really good, but anybody in particular you want to shout out?
I think Brian Taylor Jr. had just the best game of his career easily. He's someone who, earlier in the year, we were talking about him being on the field, playing on the interior, and it was like, well, it's not going great for him against Texas. Only rushed the passer 17 times, picked up 6 pressures on those 17, just absolutely destroyed on the interior. And look, Florida generally this year wasn't great rushing the passer, right? They had 34 pressures going into the Texas game. They had 35 pressures in the Texas game. They more than doubled their pressure numbers from that one game alone. And a lot of it started with the interior pass rush. Mekhi Boyero, first pressure of his career, first sack of his career. He did it all. Brian Taylor Jr. did it all in the interior. They were lining up Cam James on the interior. They were destroying on the interior. That's where football lives now. When you're rushing the passer, quickest way or fastest way from point A to point B is a straight line. You get that interior pass rush, it builds everything. Look at Florida's defense last year. Caleb Banks woke up. Caleb Banks started producing as a pass rusher. Everybody started producing as a pass rusher. That's where it goes for Florida. And Brian Taylor Jr. helped lead the defense that, I joked around about it on the SEC Squad show, but like all the Warby Parker commercials that Arch Manning's been doing, he's seeing ghosts with those glasses. That's all it was. They were just beating ass every play. It was ridiculous. Brian Taylor Jr. helped lead a lot of that. Miles Graham, best game of his career. Jaden Robinson, hell of a game. I mean, those 3 guys on the interior, 4, we'll include Mekhi Boyero in that, just dominant performance.
I think that's the key. A&M's running back room is legit. They've got Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss. Like, both those guys are going to play in the NFL. If you don't slow down the run game, and let's be honest, Mike Elko's a defensive guy. He doesn't want to throw it as much as they are, but they've got some skilled guys. But if he can lean on that run game, they will. That ought to be a great battle. And again, I think, barring something unforeseen, this is going to be like a 5-point game one way or the other. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what the spread is, but I would imagine it's pretty close if I was to guess. I know that's a tough environment, but by the way, A&M's home record in the SEC has been garbage over the last decade. I don't know what it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's been really bad. So it would not shock me if the Gators won. And that leads to the final segment we're going to get into here in a second, and that's recruiting. Florida sits at 19 commitments. Can the Gators, instead of losing kids, because I've been saying on shorts on YouTube, on everywhere I can, he's going to get fired. If they beat A&M, again, we may have to start a GoFundMe for Brandon's, psychiatry therapy. But they beat A&M, it's going to be a lot harder to fire Billy Napier. Right? And I'm just stating the obvious here. I know that you don't want that, but it's true.
Hey, he's want to know at Kyle Field.
Oh, that is technically true. That is technically true. When we come back, we'll talk about Napier. Maybe he's going to add to the class instead of being fired and losing the class. That is next on this crossover, Locked On Gators and Locked On the Portal. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and it couldn't be more exciting. Tailgates, rivalries, and the energy in the stands. There's nothing quite like college football. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping out at you at the checkout. That's not much fun, and that's why I use Game Time, and you should too. The app gives you the opportunity to take advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices. No surprise fees. What you see is what you get. And that's actually true. I'm getting ready to go to a basketball game, take my dad to a game. I was on the app less than 2 minutes and found what I needed. I can see the seat view right there from my phone. I can see the price right there from my phone. Everything that I needed to come back and have a conversation about where do we want to sit on the Game Time app. It's really, really easy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. And we are also brought to you by our friends over at Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots also run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home, whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted for in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives, and that's something that you should really take pride in. I know that whenever I go back home, or if I go to certain spots when I'm traveling, I try to find local places, coffee shops, breakfast restaurants, a wings place to watch the game, whatever it may be. I try to buy local, and I hope you do as well. Square is all about that too, and they are a partner with over 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go Locked On College to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. All right, it is time to discuss all the possibilities, for lack of a better phrase. Florida's right on the edge of a top 10 class. Brandon, I want your honest opinion. What's hypothetical of this? If they go to A&M and win, a top 10 team by any measurement, does that give Florida fans some hope that they can not only keep the guys they got committed, they got a really good class, but they can maybe, should I say, even flip some kids from others? God forbid it goes that direction. Because last week I was saying it's just a matter of which kids are going to be dropping out, blah, blah, blah. And I was steadfast with it. I'm sure you've thought about it too. Could this game be the way they flip it the other direction? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think that first off, yeah, you touched on it also. The most important thing is retaining the guys that are currently in your class. This past weekend, a bunch of kids were supposed to be at different schools. Florida got some of them to stay in Gainesville. Justin Williams was like, I might be going to the Florida State game, ended up staying in Gainesville. Carson Baker was supposed to go to the Florida State game, ended up staying in Gainesville ended up coming to Gainesville for it. So I think keeping the guys in your class, vitally important. Jarayla McCoy tweeted after the game. He's like, take me off flip watch. I'm going to be a Gator no matter what. Like, so you got to see a lot of these guys further commit to Florida, which let's also be real about it. If things get bad, that can change. But for now, they're good. You got guys locking in visits and staying with you, and that's vitally important. There's guys like DQ Forkba still has not committed anywhere, and that one was, we thought, going to be a Florida Gators commitment earlier in the summer, and then it ended up getting pushed back. Maybe, you keep stacking these wins and you keep selling that. Isaiah Broughton is a lineman that is currently committed to UNLV. He was in Gainesville for the visit for the Texas game, got to see that win. He's been getting recruited by Auburn. He's been getting recruited by Mississippi State. He's been getting more offers. He's no longer a UNLV caliber player. Like he's an SEC recruiting battle now from Texas. So I don't care that he's, I think he's a 3-star on the recruiting services. You look at the offer list. Yeah, you look at the offer list. That ain't a 3-star. And so I think that you're looking at, not these big flashy additions. This is also a pretty full recruiting class right now. Like Billy Napier hasn't typically taken these big high school recruiting classes. He's usually going to take, 23-ish, which means there's not a ton of spots left. That's what he's looking for. He's looking to fill out this recruiting class, which I think the 2026 class is great. I think the 2025 class is Napier's best class that he's brought in. I know, 2024 had DJ Lagway, LJ McCray. That 2025 class is just, some of them are the most impactful players in the entire team right now. Like, that's what we're looking at. We're talking about Dallas and VB3 as the leading receivers, 2 true freshmen, Jaden Woods creating a ton of pressure. So I think that the important part of this 2026 class is adding in a couple guys, but keeping that core together can't be overstated.
I think that's something that is often overlooked. In today's world, as a general rule, especially within the state of Florida, if you have a young man committed, you're the leader. I lived in Florida for 7 years. Those kids are not generally loyal to anything until you've proven it all the way through. If you start losing, they'll bail. That's the state of Florida in a nutshell. So I put out several different comments, different parts of podcasts talking about if they don't win soon, like this could go sideways real quick. Of course, then they beat Texas. So now we're kind of, to me, we're at even water level. Like, it could still go either direction. Because, like, if they go get beat 31-7 by A&M, I doubt that. They would be in a lot of trouble. Again, I think this would be a 5-point game one way or the other. But let's see. They got A&M. Who's after A&M? They got
Mississippi State.
They're not bad. They almost beat Tennessee.
I'm sorry. Can we also talk about this for a second with Jeff Lebby?
He's
in his he's in his second year. He's got Mississippi State fighting in games.
Yeah,
that's great for them. He doesn't have an SEC win yet.
No, he comes. They got to find a way to get over the top. They got to get one of these. Yeah.
We're a year and a half in now, and I do think that he's doing a great job considering it's Mississippi State. But and I'm not saying he's not going to get an SEC win, but can you win one and then we can keep talking? And he's a guy that I do genuinely like as a coach, but until you get the win, I'm not going to do the whole you got it. You got to go out there and show me. And look, I'm saying this now. It's probably going to be Florida now that I've said it. Now that I've opened my mouth about Jeff Lebby not having an SEC win, he's probably going to go, okay, well, screw that long-haired guy. I'm going to go win it. But look, Mississippi State's playing good football. Florida just won in the Swamp. Their next time in the Swamp is homecoming with Mississippi State. I expect that crowd to be rocking. We'll see what they do. But yeah, Mississippi State is tough, but win an SEC game, and then I'll give you your flowers.
So they got the Aggies, then the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Do they play Ole Miss? By
Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss.
Okay. Kentucky should be a win. Ole Miss, that'll be a great game. By the way, that's a great story with the Chambliss. That's Trinidad Chambliss. It's a great, great story. So Florida, at the very least, again, I mentioned this earlier, they are going to be the fly in the ointment at the very least in the SEC. I don't know which team it's going to be, but somebody's fan base is going to be going to their message boards causing a ruckus because the Gators went to their house or whatever and beat them.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and make a prediction now. If it's not the Aggies, they'll still win another SEC road game or, again, Georgia's neutral site. Call it whatever you want. They'll either beat A&M, Georgia, or Ole Miss. They're going to win one of those 3 games is my prediction. And they'll also lay an egg in one of those 3. Do you disagree with any of what I just said?
I don't know about laying an egg. Just because I think that your defense is good enough to keep you in any game, really. That's where we're at. Unless there's injuries piling up, I really think this defense is good enough to win you or to keep you in any game.
Within 10, maybe?
Yeah. The whole thing I've been talking about was, this defense is good enough to keep you in there. And look, we could talk about how Florida seemingly dominated that game against Texas. You scored 29 points. That's not usually what you think about when you go, dominant performance. You got to do a bit more on offense. But again, your defense is good enough where if your offense gives you just average play, you're going to win football games. If your defense does what they've been doing and they do it against Texas A&M and your offense gives you what they gave you against Texas, which wasn't amazing, right? Dallas had the big play and you had a few of those big plays. But overall, your offense wasn't incredible. It was just a lot better than what we've been used to for the first month. And so we compare to the first month. Yeah, that was the greatest show on turf compared to the first month, but that wasn't legit high level, consistent offense. If you give me average offense and the defense keeps doing what they've been doing, yeah, you're going to win a lot of games. You're going to beat Texas A&M. You're going to beat Ole Miss, which, again, the storyline in that game, like similar to last year, it's like every Florida fan wanted, or a lot of Florida fans wanted Billy fired for Lane Kiffin to get hired. It was very clear, hey, Billy was going to beat Lane last year. Like that was sometimes college football, the storyline matters more than the actual game itself.
That was kind of interesting because he outcoached him in that game. Yeah, he did. All right. What position or positions does Florida need to fill out their recruiting class with? Is there any spot you're like, we're a little light here. What do we need for the Gators to finish out the 2026 recruiting class?
I would like to see more high level on the offensive line, which I don't think we're really gonna get, but that's like at a certain point you got to recruit high level on the offensive line, and they haven't been doing that. I get the approach of going, hey, well, we're gonna go recruit guys with the physical tools, the physical skills on the offensive line, and then we're gonna develop them. But to this point, your offensive line development hasn't been awesome. I mean, look, you got Jake Slaughter to be an All-American. That's awesome. But your two best offensive linemen are Mullen and Hevesy commits. Like that's what they aren't Napier guys. They're Mullen and Hevesy guys. And so I think you look at that, you need more, I think, true receivers. Like Dave Van Gross is really fun and athletic. Justin Williams is this tweener that we don't really know what he's going to be. And I don't even know if they're going to add more receivers. This is me saying that that's what I would do. Also, I think that you need to add more DBs. Right now, you've got 3 committed, 1 safety, 2 corners. You need more DB talent, especially when, like, really, this is a very unproven secondary when you think about what you're going to have in 2026 and beyond. Need more DBs in that class, too.
Okay, so a little variety. And by the way, you're 100% correct on O-line. At this point, the gate is pretty much closed. O-line commit early. They don't flip as often. You guys, I mean, there's always somebody else that they'll late bloomer or whatever, but chances of flipping those kids are very, very low for any school, even Florida, which is one of the best programs in the country as far as recruiting over the last 30 years. But it's still just true. So, Brandon, tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend. Every
single day, wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube, Locked On Gators, where they're talking about who knows, this turnaround, this flame out, whatever the hell it's going to be. I'm going to be there every step of the way.
Absolutely. You can find the Portal Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and everywhere you get your pods. Thank you very much. Subscribe. We will see you again soon.